Welcome to another episode of NAC Car Culture, your home of tough muscle cars, classic cruisers and high-performance imports. Proudly brought to you by NAC Insurance, specialists in modified and high-performance cars, Mount Shop, undercar specialists, and Tang Tools. Get organised. Coming up in this week's show, Podge Reed tries to build a skid hack and gets completely carried away. And we meet the Cook Motor Racing team bound for Bonneville with land speed records in their sights. But first up, we've got highlights from the massive Repco Beach Hop 16. If you've ever made your way to Whangamata over New Year's, then you'll know the seaside town can get pretty busy. Well, that's nothing compared to when this lot roll in over autumn. Repco Beach Hop is a celebration of the way things were, and thousands of cars, caravans and bikes make their way to Coromandel for a week of cruising, topped with a serving of good old-fashioned rock and roll.
The 50s and 60s were a really interesting time in history because just after the war finished in 45, servicemen came back and things changed. You know, the cars changed, fashions changed, music changed. I think that's really special. There was just so much change happened over those 20 years. Important part of our culture and history, and lots of happy memories, and that's what it's all about today.
And although Whangamata plays Hop HQ, nothing stands still for long round here. Repco Beach Hop has long been all about the driving, and when they're not prowling Whanga's Port Road, you'll find the 1,000+ entrants on the move with day trips all over the peninsula.
Hey, the Kiwi road trip kind of thing, it is ingrained in our psyche. It is a Kiwi thing to go on a road trip. So to do it with a few thousand of your mates, it's even better.
I've got quite a few cars, but the golden rule is that they've all got to be able to be driven. And it doesn't matter where we go, shingle roads, whatever. They're made to drive, and that's what we do, and get out and use them.
Some people have built them, some people have gone overseas and found them, and you just enjoy them.
Just a great event to be a bit nostalgic and think about the way motoring would have been.
Waihi's warm-up party gave us the chance to catch up with Steve and his super sharp 68 SS Chevelle, a recent NZ V8 magazine cover car.
I like the body style, I like the lines, I like the curves, I like the fact that it was a powerful muscle car, and from there on it just evolved. People are looking for something different, and Chevelles have actually been hard to find, and I think people have started to look more into more diverse builds, and Chevelles kind of fit the bill. It's now running on a complete Roadster Shop chassis, aftermarket chassis. 502 cubic inches of power plant up the front end, custom this, custom that, custom the other, basically. All new sheet metal, so it's been a massive, massive build, but it's actually quite an interesting car to drive. The car's only been registered since last November. It's already done almost 3,000 miles. It's a driving car. It's made to be driven. It's not made to be parked up.
In a sea of collectible and rare tin from the States, one of the rarest came from closer to home. Nick Cale's Aussie icon, the GTHO Falcon.
I've had it since 2002 I bought it and started restoring it then. It's had a full restore. So yeah, now I've been driving it for about 7 or 8 years, I think. They are quite rare now, but it's good to see that there's a lot more Australian cars actually coming into the beach hop and stuff like that, where people are starting to realise how rare the Australian cars actually are. It's running the factory 351 4V Cleveland. It's got the 4-speed top loader they come out factory with, and it's got the factory 9-inch diff in it. Always wanted it, and it was in a guy's garage I know, and I basically begged him to buy the car just about. So yeah, I've always wanted it.
The Hop is well and truly world famous and attracts its share of visitors from around the globe. Entrants have been known to travel a fair way too, and Timaru is a pretty solid effort. Johnny Gilbert making the trek in his bombed-out 48 Chev.
I've had the car for about 3 or 4 years now. It's a 1948 four-door Fleetline. I brought it in from the States as a vintage car. Just recently got into the whole bomb sort of idea of having a car like that. I sort of thought it'd be quite cool, something different. And yeah, sort of started looking at a few bits of different Fleetlines. I was always keen on the Euro sedans, but we went looking for one of those, and the old man ended up buying it instead, so I thought I'd go with a four-door Fleetline. Original colours, original interior, and as many accessories as you can possibly get, and just sort of drop it down a bit lower, and have the split manifold and the wee pea shooters at the back and a big siren, and it seems to be the bomb way of life. I put the Jag front end in it, which is not sort of normally what the bomb guys do, but living in the South Island, you don't get as many events like this down there, so you got to make sure you build them that they can be comfortable to drive up here and back.
Another mainlander, Jeff, in his 63 Galaxy.
Well, we'd heard about it a lot. We'd travelled to a lot of car events, and people had said, you've got to go to Beach Hop, and we're like, yeah, one day we'll get round to it. And last year was that year. Kind of jumped online, persevered, got our entry in, and then it was a matter of finding accommodation, and that worked out pretty good. So once we'd done it, we thought, better keep that accommodation live, so here we are again. Okay, it's a 63.5 Galaxy. They were bought out really as Ford's answer to NAC cars back in the 60s, and hence the distinctive sloping back as kind of a racing concept. It's a cool old cruiser. Lots of room. You know, people always joke about what you could put in the boot, and you know, it's been suggested mafia type activities, but it's great for luggage and what have you. It definitely loves fuel, and like every town I pass through, everyone else is looking for a coffee shop. I'm looking for a gas station, and keep it topped up, and as long as I do that, it keeps on cruising. So we've done a lot of miles in it, and so far it's never let us down. So all we've got to do is get back to Christchurch after this show, and she'll be sweet as.
While trophies are pretty low on the Repco Beach Hop priority list, the event does honour a handful of cars, bikes and caravans in Sunday's Top 10 Shootout, the finalists picked by People's Choice over the week.
It's a 1968 Camaro. It's running a 383 stroker engine, 9-inch rear end. My son painted it. It's in atomic mica. It's the Holden colour. I'm a car trimmer, so I've trimmed the whole thing in leather. I've made all the seats, and so there's nothing inside that's really Camaro. I've done just about everything to the car.
It's a 60 Cadillac Superior Crown, combination hearse ambulance. Up until about the mid-70s, the small towns had a double duty car that did ambulance and hearse work, which is what that is. On the whole, people love it, but yeah, you get the odd person who gets offended by it, but hey, it's just a car.
It's not easy to stand out in a sea of collectible tin from all corners, and whether you're a fan of rat rod styling or not, credit must go where credit's due. And 2016's winner, David Jeffrey, has taken out the top spot twice now with his creations.
Yeah, I'm over the moon, but embarrassed, but over the moon. I'm glad people enjoyed, looking at it. If it makes them smile, it's good.
And while it's only fair to admit that the weather didn't always play ball in 2016, it just gave us Kiwis a chance to show what we're made of.
The show goes on. A little bit of rain doesn't affect us. It doesn't happen every year, which is great. And you know what happens when you wash your car? It gets wet. It's the way we look at it. So, the Kiwis are so passionate about their cars that, they don't let a bit of rain stop them from enjoying it. I get a lot of car shows overseas, Australia and the US, and they wouldn't dream of taking their cars out in weather like this. So, go the Kiwis.
Still to come on NAC Car Culture. We get tech at E&H Motors. Podge Reed skids his show car, and we meet the Bonneville-bound Cook Motor Racing Streamliner. You're back with NAC Car Culture, kindly brought to you by the good people at NAC Insurance, Teng Tools and Mount Shop. We've got Podge's show, street and skid-ready RX-7 and this Bonneville-bound Streamliner build coming up very shortly. But first, Carl from Pukekohe's E&H Motors is here to serve up this week's NAC Tech Tip.
Late model Subarus, Evos, Commodores, Falcons, stuff like that, they have a very powerful ECU, and as a road car, we can reprogram that ECU to do what you want and support bigger turbo, injectors, stuff like that. Going from there, if you want to do something a little special or you're pushing your car much further than you would in stock trim, that kind of calls for an aftermarket ECU, so we've got a lot more control. Some of the benefits of an aftermarket ECU over a stock one are safety limits like oil pressure, air and water temperature, RPM limits, motorsport functions like launch control, anti-lag and multi-fuel tunes, so running E85 and 98 in the same tune. On heavily modified cars, we sometimes find the engine outflows what the factory sensors and ECU were designed for, so it's better to change to an aftermarket one. When you're ready to start modifying your car, it would be a good time to talk to your tuner about what you want out of your car, the power you're looking to make, and the computer you will need to do this. In a lot of cases, the factory computer can be reprogrammed to support these modifications, and if it's time to choose an aftermarket computer, they will be able to guide you into which one will work best for your budget.
Thanks, Carl. Right, thanks to the good people at Teng Tools, we're off to meet Reg Cook and the team from Cook Motor Racing as they fire up stage 1 of their Bonneville Speed Week campaign.
I was brought up on horses, and then my father got a tractor, and then the neighbour got a tractor, and each farmer reckoned his tractor was better than the other one, and each farmer was bragging, and I just thought it was normal to do better than the other person, and you know, cutting an acre of hay in less than an hour was a goal. So it was bred in me to just be competitive.
That competitive streak has found Reg much success over the years, with multiple saloon car and production car championships to his name, and a second spot in the single-seater Gold Star Championship in '74, before trading the asphalt for gravel in the New Zealand Rally. Before all that, though, the light bulb moment for young university student Reg Cook came behind the wheel of his self-modified Mini.
The other university students were telling these other guys that I was a quick driver, and they thought, yeah, you know, we'll show them. So they entered me on the day and did all that, and they were hoping that I would, you know, make a fool out of myself. Well, we won the outright sprint completely. I was brought up not to spend money. And I went to Pukekohe, and I hoped that I failed, because if I failed, then I could just go and do something else the rest of my life. But we broke the lap record, and from that day onwards, that was the turning point, and we're still doing it today. I don't notice speed, because when I was racing cars, everything was in slow motion. The challenge is the addictive thing. It's the, if you do something well, you feel good about yourself and you get a buzz. And every time you win a race, you feel like you've achieved your goal. Whenever you exceed your expectations, that's the biggest buzz you can ever get. So in a way, I'm addicted to adrenaline and dopamine. And this is how I get it. And it's legal, and you know, there's nothing they can do about it.
2011 saw the CMR team make the pilgrimage to Utah's Bonneville Salt Flats, where they snapped up a 2-litre class world record at Speed Week, running a little over 280 kilometres per hour. As it turns out, they're just getting started. The little Nissan NX Coupe is back for 2016. The grand plan is no less than to break 4 records in 4 days. Its cabin mate for the trip over, however, is much larger, and so too are the goals. The Streamliner in Phase 1 has been engineered with sights firmly on the 2-litre diesel world record, held currently at 235 kilometres per hour. Note the Phase 1. That's important, because over the next 4 years, the big goal is to bring back as many major world wheel-driven land speed records as possible, switching out the power plants in an effort to go faster and faster. In fact, the end target is in the ballpark of a staggering 600 kilometres per hour. Big targets indeed, but the Cook Motor Racing team have no intention of just breaking records. Smashing them is more the term you'd be looking for.
I don't want to go to Bonneville and just break a record. We want to come home thinking that that is the best we can do. If we come back home and we might have broken a world record and we're 20 miles underneath what we could have done, I'll be miffed.
And if you're wanting to go faster than everyone else, then those same parts available to everyone else just aren't going to cut it.
When I started motor racing in the late 60s, which is a long time ago, there was no money and there was no parts. So if you wanted to modify anything to go quicker, you had to modify it yourself. So we just learned how to get a gas flow machine and get our own engine dyno and develop our own cams and do this. We've learnt that if we want to go better than someone else, we can't buy their product. We've got to get something that's better. So that's just what we've done, especially in the engine developments with normally aspirated. There's a new engine coming, which is one I'm excited about. It's a 2-litre Synergy V8 that Simon Longdale is doing, and hopefully that's got 400 brake horsepower, and that'll make it the best in the world, and that's the engine that I really want to see happen, because it's 15,000 RPM, and that'll really set the world alight, we hope, because there'll be nothing in the world that'll beat it.
This then isn't just a one-time salt assault. Rather, it's a long-term campaign with the aim of making New Zealand stand up and take notice, but not necessarily for the reasons you might think.
New Zealanders are incredibly proud of our Kiwi can-do, number 8 wire, baling twine mentality that we can do anything. On one hand, we love this, and on the other hand, we actually do nothing about it. We stunt it. The likes of Bruce McLaren, Graham McRae, John Britton and Burt Munro had this attitude they can do anything. Well, we can do anything, and that's exactly what we want to do. I want to set an example to say that that spirit hasn't gone. It can be here. It's just sad that it's in a 70-year-old and it isn't in our young people. To me, that's more important than what I'm doing. I want people to be proud of what they do. When I've got grandchildren, I want them to think they can do anything. I don't want them to think that they're crippled because of the way that society is going. So I hope they see this and my grandchildren think, that's it, that's my pop, I'm going to get on and do what I want to do.
For the entire month of July, Tang Tools are giving away thousands of dollars worth of amazing prizes, including this 460-piece Tang Mega Master Toolkit worth almost $3.5 grand. To be in to win this and to be included in the daily Tang Tools prize draws, simply visit themotorhood.com and follow the Tang Tools promotion link. Okay, Mount Shop feature car time now. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Podge Reed's show and now skid spec Series 1 Mazda RX-7.
I've always loved RX-7 Series 1. They've looked at in the rotary world as almost the dog, but I think the RX-7, the sleek lines, just the whole look, and it's an iconic race car. I like being different and mixing it up a little bit as well, so the RX-7's the one for me.
The RX-7 isn't the first vehicle to cop Podge's full attention. His previous, a show-winning B1600 Ute, meeting an unfortunate and untimely end. With the Ute written off and the replacement RX-7 sourced for a princely sum of just $1,500, you can probably guess the condition when purchased is a fair bit different from what you see in front of you today.
It was matte black, it had the roll cage in it, going to be a designated burnout car. We started getting into the engine bay and started detailing that, smoothing it off, and sort of trying to build it in some respects as Charlie Stanaway's burnout wagon, where it's a little bit rat and a little bit rusty on the outside, but quite nice and desirable on the engine bay, so it's still something nice to look at. One thing led to another, started chroming a few things, and sort of got to a point where it was the work and where I was going with it was starting to, from a burnout hack to, hey, we've got something pretty cool here. Took it to a Procraft panel beaters, spent a lot of money on re-pulling chassis rails, new door skins, everything's been sandblasted, back to bare metal and started again. Really just trying to preserve the car for another 37 years.
Preserving the car also meant staying true to the era Podge most associates with the early RX-7.
The RX-7 Series 1's more iconically known with the mangled Modgies and Eagers. And I sort of went down that road and thought, oh yeah, this could work. But once I sort of saw the ZS's and had them polished, it looks right for its era, I think. When you look at them, they are just stunning.
Another key factor in the Mazda's period build was retaining the 12A, although this one is the sole survivor of the B1600 wreck, a Bridgeported 12A topped with a 48mm Weber IDA. But 1200cc in rotary terms is hardly a slug.
You know, once you get behind the wheel of a rotary engine and you're actually driving it, feeling the power, you're revving it to 7, 8, 9, 10,000 RPM, and you just can't beat it. For such a little motor, they produce quite a lot of power and they really like to scream. A lot of people have asked me questions, oh, so you're going to use it? Oh, look how nice it is. Is it just a full designated show car? Oh, by all means, no. No point in having something pretty in the garage if you don't get to use it. We're too scared to use it, you know? And that's part of it, is actually getting in behind the wheel and enjoying it. You can't beat that level of feeling. It is surreal. It definitely makes me smile, and that's what it's all about. It's actually, we've spent hours and a lot of money on getting it to where it is today, but you've got to enjoy it. We're really going to try to get it legal, suited with no bonnet, because I think it would be a shame to hide it away. The same level has sort of gone down the track of making it nice and comfortable as well, with doing the full interior. Yes, it's got the roll cage, and yes, there will be a bigger motor coming in the near future, but at the moment I still wanted to be able to jump in it and actually have the luxuries of a modern sports car.
And yes, although you could say Podge failed miserably in his quest to build a burnout spec beater, the decision to step things up mid-build doesn't excuse the RX from RX-type activities.
Every opportunity that sort of comes your way, you either watch it go past or you grab it with both hands. I feel I've grabbed it with both hands on this one. The original plan was a burnout car, and somewhat along the way got turned up to be a sort of a show car, more of a look. But by all means, we still like to turn the tyres and have a bit of fun and a bit of burnouts. It's what it's all about, and makes me happy, and that's what the iconically rotaries are known for, big skids, and that's what we like to do.
Want to see more cars in action like this? Jump onto themotorhood.com now and sign up for our totally free digital magazine. It's packed with the best bits from New Zealand Performance Car, NZV8 and New Zealand Classic Car magazines. Simply enter your email address and you'll get it direct to your inbox. Easy. Coming up next week, Mad Mike runs us through Hampton Downs' brand new circuit. We meet Conda's Walkinshaw Commodore packing no less than 2 Pro Chargers. And check out the winner of our NAC feature car competition from Season 1. See you then. NAC Car Culture was proudly brought to you by NAC Insurance, specialists in modified and high-performance cars, Mount Shop, undercar specialists, and Tang Tools. Get organised.